Is webcast national issue. The rates at which buildings are collapsing almost on daily basis across the nation has become so incessant and worrisome, especially as lives are mostly lost in such cases. This afternoon, webcast channel decided to call on in experts to educate us more this afternoon. My name is Christy Dewey, and I'll be the anchor for today's program. With me this afternoon, on my right is Builder Rafiu Olariwaju Mohammed. He's an expert in building engineering. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Can you tell our viewers and audience a little bit more about yourself?
Good afternoon once again. My name is Builder Rafiu Olariwaju Mohammed, a graduate of building from Ahmadu Bello University, and I've been practicing in Abuja since 1993.
Wow.
I'm on my own, so you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, we want you to enlighten us. As an engineer, you've just told us your area of specialization, that you're a builder.
Yes.
We all know that in recent times there are instances building collapse across the country. What will you say are the causes? I mean, what are those things responsible for this building collapse across the nation?
The first thing I have to advise people is that when you are engaging people into your building construction, it's better you engage a professional, an expert in that line.
Oh.
Because in the built environment, there are different types of professionals that are involved. The professionals are about 7. We have the architect, we have the town planner, we have the structural engineer, the mechanical engineer, and so on and so forth, before getting to the builders. If you put all these people in place, it's going to be very hard to have building collapse, because the architect will have designed what the client wants. The structural engineer will design the structural stability of that building. You have your QS who is going to cost the intention of the client before giving it to the builder.
Is it the same thing as the quantity?
That's the QS, that's quantity surveyor.
Okay.
Because if you have a QS who has already priced and you give your building to a builder to construct, the issue of cutting corner, or maybe the QS will have advised the client on the likely cost of the building. So even before the client goes into the project, he will have known what is going to cost him. If he's not going to do it, he will leave it, than just going into a project without having an idea of the cost of the construction. That's what will normally cause cutting corner in the construction. You now feel that, okay, it's after you have moved to the site that you are now thinking of the cost. But if you have the initial cost of the construction in mind, you already know from the onset if it's a doable project or not.
Thank you very much. Will you consider this idea of cutting corners, cutting costs or cutting corners as the fault of the owner of the building, or owner or owners, or of those people, the experts that are supposed to provide the necessary requirements?
No, that's why I still maintain that if you engage professionals on your job, issue of cutting corner will not arise. Because if the professional knows the implication of cutting that corner, he will not even engage in it, talk less of even going.
So what are the implications, if you can?
The implication is that, in construction,
Yeah.
why we are always very careful when professionals are involved is that if the accident occurs, it's not like in the medical profession that one person will die or 2 people. In building, if it happens, is in enormous number. So that's why professionals already know. Professionals in the construction industry, they know that, and that's why we're always very careful. And that's why I still maintain The problem is engaging. If somebody is truly a professional, he will not even engage in all those cutting corner. So that's why I will not even blame the client.
Okay.
Because if you know your owners, there is no way a client will tell you, reduce this for me, I don't have money. You rather leave the job. You even leave. That's the best thing. Because if you're a professional, you know the implication. You just leave the job for the person.
Some I think early this year there was this building collapse that claimed some lives, including the owner of the building, where it became issues for of discussion. And from what we heard, the building engineer and the man did not agree on what to do, but he still went ahead to do the construction, and that was what led to the building collapse. Well, how will you react to that one?
No, if you actually follow
The, the story.
the story,
Yeah.
you see that there was a structural engineer
Yeah.
on the project, and when it got to a stage, the person pulled out.
But another one took it up.
And that person will not be. I'm sure the investigation has not implicated the person that is a professional. It's not everybody that goes to university or that is carrying measuring tape in the pocket that is engineer. If it's a professional knows his onions. Everybody is an when it comes to science, you just see anybody carrying tape, you tell him he's an engineer, and whereas he's just seeing what they are doing. He knows how to do measurement, so he has turned himself to be engineer or builder or architect. So I'm very sure the report of the investigation has not come out to say the person that is actually there is the professional.
Well, thank you very much. As recent as a few days ago, there was this building collapse in Abuja. That was preceded by another one in Lagos. And there have been several building collapse in Abuja, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, especially. Not that they are not happening in other places, but those three places have become so common, so incessant, and reoccurring all the time. How will you, what will you say are responsible for these particular ones? Especially, two lives were lost in the Uber, two lives or more, and so many others injured. How will you react to that?
You see, on this issue of building collapse, there are so many people, organization, government agents that are supposed to be involved. There are some things that are happening now that I once advised the professional institute that like Standard Organization of Nigeria
Yes.
is very important because there are so many things that are going on. Like let me cite an example of maybe block industry.
Okay.
By the time, because we're already used to, okay, this is how you measure, this is how you, and anybody that is carrying a bag of cement will assume that the cement is 50 kg, 50 kilogram. Now, some of these things have been tampered with.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it may not be up to that. But because the person using it has already seen 50 kilogram on the bag of cement, by the time he's doing his mixture, he will be doing the mixture based on the assumption on the bag of the cement, whereas the quantities have been tampered with. So that's where I put some of this blame on Standard Organization of Nigeria. If that thing is gotten like that, they supposed to, the SON supposed to penalize where the cement is sold or maybe it's coming up, because the person that is mixing now will base his own calculation, doesn't need to measure again, because if
Because it has been written
that
yes,
it's 50 kg and it is assumed that the whole thing has gone through the quality control processes. So by the time it's mixing, it will just mix the sand or the stone dust into the assumed 50 kilogram, and it's producing maybe 25 or 30 bars, 30 pieces of blocks. At the end of the strength you are going to achieve will be lower than what it's supposed to be. That's number one. Number two, why is still going back to SON? I remember in those days when we were using cement, it's very hard for you to see anybody touching cement that is made with water. It's very hard. Yes. It will hit, but these days, you touch cement, to put your leg, nothing will happen to you. That means the chemical
is not as strong as it used to be,
which is going to have adverse effect on the output of what you are producing. and the other one is still, I still come back, it's still the professionalism
Yes.
apart from the SOI.
Okay, will you, as a result of what you have said, will you consider faulty design constructions? Because you don't talk about faulty designs, you've talked about use of substandard materials.
Yes.
Negligence, construction, faulty construction design or negligence on the part of whoever is concerned. I mean, the experts, even the experts, or in quotes, those who consider themselves to be experts. I mean, has been responsible for some of these collapses we have been witnessing in recent time.
The issue of faulty design is not always much in building collapse. The
Okay.
reason being that if the professionals are involved right from the design stage, if architect designs and is going to the structural engineer, the structural engineer will have known from his own analysis if this building is going to stand.
Okay.
Because there are so many things that are supposed to be done. You have soil test, you have the, by the time the architect bring, because architects, they are very good in design, bringing out aesthetics and all. But by the time the structural engineer comes and you are intending to put so size of building on this land, you will say the first thing you have to do is to go for a soil test. By the time you do your soil test, that's where the professionalism is coming in. By the time you do your soil test, he is the one that will recommend the foundation. There are some design that will even happen that, but before you even recommend your foundation, if the architect has planned some of the building in a way that structural engineer feel this span is too much, he can now advise the architect that the span you are proposing may be very difficult to achieve during construction. So that's why the design is not always much when it comes to collapse.
Okay.
The design is not always there. The design, because you will have known if this design is going to stand or not structurally.
Okay. Yes. So, what are the consequences of building collapse on the economy and other aspects of human lives? I mean, social
Yes,
and
yes.
everything. Yes, the consequences.
The consequences are enormous. Because one thing with building collapse is that in terms of economy, we know how many things that have lost in terms of finance and all this thing, life is lost. And the psychological aspect of it is that if a building collapses, by the time the building is reconstructed, some people will even be psychologically scared that that's why that building is collapsed to. They will not want to go back to that place,
Exactly.
no matter the type of building you have even put on
Put
that
up
land.
there, yes.
People will be scared.
Mhm.
If you are supposed to get this, not that people will not stay there. If you are supposed to finish a building and people supposed to be occupied within a year or so, it may take another 2, 3, 4 years before you get people occupied, because somebody will say, that's the place that the building collapsed, not knowing that the thing has been redesigned and reconstructed. So that's the implication, and life lost cannot be, is not quantifiable. So that's one of those things, and that's why I keep saying we should try as much as possible. It may be, is not expensive at the end of the day, because by the time you don't engage a professional in your building construction and there is collapse, the people that will come and remove the debris will not do it free.
At all.
Apart from government that will do NEMA, all this NEMA.
And there is a limit to what they can do.
There is limit to, they will still use manual to finish the evacuation and they will pay. So you are paying, you have already lost money in the initial construction. You are paying money for evacuating the debris, then you now spend money again.
Exactly.
Why not put the money once and for all and engage a professional to handle the thing, to handle the building for you?
But sometimes a lot of people tend to say that it's expensive getting your people, the experts, to come. It's more expensive. But from what you said, we can see that it's not even expensive. It's being penny wise pound foolish. But then, I mean, I don't know how you can do it in such a way that it will attract builders. I mean, your profession will attract builders. People will be able to come to you to negotiate and to get some of these things done, rather than meeting people out there, getting direct labor and things like that.
What I would advise is developers, people that want to construct, it's always good to open up to the professionals. If you have so amount that you want to expend on
Yeah.
a building, and you think you want to do this size of project, if you open up to your architect, the QS, you engage all these people, they'll be able to tell you, so, sir or ma, don't go towards this direction with the limitation of the fund you have with you. They can now reduce, advise you on what to do for you to get the best with the little resources you have. But by the time you dey open up at the initial stage, the design is done, along the line you find out that midway you are stuck, then you start finding a shortcut to finish the project. So at the initial stage, it's always good to have a pre-planned intention that this is what I intend to spend on this size of project. And if it's not going to work, the professionals will have advised you on how to go about it, and you get the best, even with the little. It's not everything that should be big that will be fine. You can have something that is small and beautiful.
When you look at the Nigerian um, style or ways of doing things, sometimes everybody wants something big, something beautiful, with something big. And I think maybe we can say that is why some of them don't consult experts. What is your take on that? We want something big. I have a building, I have a plot of land, I want to build on it. But I like something big and I like something beautiful. So how
And
do
you and
you
you
manage
don't, and
that?
you don't have the money.
And I don't have the money.
And that's why professional will still insist that for this amount you have, the professional will be able to advise you on the side. You know, in Yoruba adage, people say the soup that is very sweet is done with money.
Exactly.
So if you say you want this size of project, this type of finishing, and you don't have the money, it's better you just cut your coat according to what you have, not according to your size. You cut it according to what you have, according to the materials you have. If the coat cannot have hand, you can remove it and turn it to a waistcoat. That's it.
Thank you. Viewers at home, I'm sure you are enjoying this program because it's kind of enlightening. You'll be able to learn so much. For those of you out there trying to put up a building, a structure, consider engaging experts. Don't look at the money because in the long run, the money is worth the while. Yes, thank you, Builder Mohammed. What are the challenges facing your profession as building engineer, a builder, all of you together involved in constructions? What are those challenges facing you?
The challenges we are having now is finance. You know, in the countries now, most of the equipment we used are not produced. Almost all the equipment we use for building construction, they are not produced. And the rate at which the foreign
They are not produced here?
they are not produced here. Most of the equipment we use to get the best results are not produced in this country.
Okay.
And with the fund available, by the time you say you are importing all these import duty, you have taken everything. That's number one. Number two, we need public enlightenment for people that are constructing, so that they will see the benefit of engaging professionals, experts in their work. Finally, government will assist. Let government help us. Let them see how, in order to reduce the building collapse, let them see how equipment can be coming into the country with ease, so that everybody can get access to it.
Exactly. I was going to ask you how you think government can intervene. Well, you've been able to do some justices to some of these things, or most of it. You may want to give more advice either to the government, to the builders out there, and those other people, the quack. I want to put that in quotes. The people who claim to be professionals because they have seen people measuring and engaging and doing some things. What will you want to say to them? And then, is there any penalty? I don't know if people in your profession use experts. If you are actually looking at, because in some professions, the moment they see that there are quacks, they find measures, they find way of copying the excesses of this quack. What are you doing
Yes, that's why I still
as a body?
yes, for Nigerian Institute of Building and Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria. We have been fortunate that most of the collapses we have gotten in this country, no member, if I'm not mistaken, has not been indicted. And now, where government will now come in is that if there is a stiff penalty for anybody that is constructing and is building collapse, both the client and the person that call himself the so-called builder or engineer, if there is strict penalty, even if it has to be death sentence, because you have been able to take people's life.
Exactly.
Many lives are lost, and you just come there and do your own laxity job, and at the end of the day, so both the client and the so-called builder or engineer, if they are strictly penalized, the client will not want to engage in that act. Then the so-called people that are calling themselves engineer or builder will not want to take a job that they are not sure of. If nobody is saying they cannot collect job, by the time they collect the job and maybe they are fortunate or they are opportune to get it at a good price, they will be scared and look for a builder. Because nobody has said you cannot take construction. But by the time you take it, a quack may be fortunate, may be connected. You can collect the job and now engage a professional that will now work under you. That will give you the advice. The law has not said accountants are into construction, medical doctors are into construction, but by the time you want to do the construction, it's advisable. And that's why I will still come back that a stiff penalty should be given to both the client and the so-called engineers or builders.
But what is your body, I mean your organization? At least you have a society, like you said. Apart from government, because it is government that can give that kind of state penalties, including death sentence and all that. What is your body doing, your organization doing to curb the essence of? Because when you look at it, you discover that actually whatever they are doing is affecting you. It's affecting your society. It's affecting you as individual experts. It's affecting you as people who know their onions. But unfortunately, these people are penetrating and causing some, bringing bad repute to your name and to the organization. What is the body doing?
I've answered that before. That is because the people that are involved are not professionals.
Yes.
Now, in the profession, you have enforcement department. So at any time any construction is going on, you normally do some site visit to be sure. But why the thing will still come back to government is that you don't have the right to prosecute anybody. You can just say, okay, this is, but at the end of the day, by the time you pick somebody, you don't have the law, you don't have the power to now deal. You have to hand over to the government. So that's why everything still come back to the government. I'll still put it back because in every body in the professional, in the built environment, in the built professionals institute, there is this enforcement department that they go around. Who are the builders on your site? Who are the architects, the QS and everything? But at the end of the day, if they don't comply, there is limit to which you can. By the time you even arrest somebody, you won't prosecute. You will take it to the police. At the end of the day, how do you? There are so many things that are even more than this building thing. How many times have you been able to pick anybody?
wàhálà nìyẹn ẹ̀sìn gbígbé lárugẹ iṣẹ́ wa ni eré ìdárayá ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ ojúṣe wa nìyẹn ká kọ́ni lọ́gbọ́n ká fúnni lóye ká tún dáni lárayá ìròyìn àsìkò tí ó lábùlà ẹ̀tẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ wa. Webcast Channel ní tiwa, Webcast Channel ní tiwa, Webcast Channel ní tiwa, Webcast Channel ní tiwa, wọ́n gbọ́ wá kárí ayé o, alágbogbo ayé já. Webcast Channel, hitting the airwaves in style.
we want to take a break now. We'll come back to you later.
ẹ máa gbọ́ ìkànnì wa ìkànnì tó ta wọ́n yọ. ẹ máa gbọ́ ìkànnì wa ìkànnì tó dùn. ẹ máa gbọ́ ìkànnì wa ìkànnì tó tayọ. ẹ máa gbọ́ ìkànnì wa ìkànnì tó dùn. tó bá jẹ́ tàṣà gbígbé lárugẹ àwa la nìyẹn. ẹ̀sìn gbígbé lárugẹ iṣẹ́ wa ni. eré ìdárayá ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ ojúṣe wa nìyẹn. kákọ́ni lọ́gbọ́n ká fúnni lóye ká tún dáni lárayá. ìròyìn àsìkò tí ó lábùlà ẹ̀tẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ wá. Webcast Channel ní tiwa, Webcast Channel ní tiwa, Webcast Channel ní